Welcome to our Humans of Oseredok interview. Today we're interviewing Adrian Hawaleshka, and he's our vice president of our board. So first of all, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Adrian Hawaleshka. I'm 17 years old. I'm just kidding. I'm 53 years old. I'm an anesthesiologist here in Winnipeg, born and raised. And that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Why did you want to volunteer at Oseredok?
Well, Oseredok has basically been a family affair in my family for a very, very long time. So volunteering at Oseredok is really just kind of almost like steps in your development in my family in regards to like going from walking and to speaking and all those kind of things. So for me, it was just a natural progression of my involvement in the Ukrainian community. So it was never a question of volunteering at Oseredok. It was a question of when I was going to volunteer at Oseredok, and that's basically been going on for about 30 years for me now.
Okay, so you said it was kind of a natural progression. So with that question of when did you start volunteering at Oseredok, and how was your first time here?
Well, it was little things basically throughout my life until I actually wound up being asked to join the board in my older years. But whenever like Oseredok would call, needed volunteers for this event or that event, and I would do it. I know my father and my mother were involved in various capacities through the years. As far my father more so, and my mother has been a long-term volunteer at the in the boutique. So I would help out there if she needed any kind of help. But all the way along, essentially from my late teen years onwards, I've done things here at Oseredok. Odd jobs here or there when it came down to it, until essentially I guess became more established in my professional life. At which point I had skills to offer that were beyond just basic volunteering.
Okay, so what is your favorite event at Oseredok?
Favorite event? Good question. There's been a rebirth with Oseredok over the last several years in regards to actual just social functions. So this might be some certain degree of recency bias, but my favorite event that comes to mind is actually the borscht making competition. I really just enjoyed that from the perspective, from my own perspective. My wife, who is not Ukrainian, who's Irish, she entered the borscht making competition. So I thought that was just excellent. So there's lots of events that Oseredok has been putting on lately that have really revitalized um, not only the organization but also the community. So narrowing it down to one, and definitely some recency bias here, but it's the borscht making competition.
Okay, so what is your favorite memory from Oseredok, if it's different from that at all?
Oh, it's different. My favorite memory from Oseredok is doing my. I written two children's books, and one of my children's books, the second book reading happened here at Oseredok. So after I opened at McNally Robinson, the next book reading was here, and my son was very young. So having that here at Oseredok, and with my son present and my family, my wife, my parents, that is a special moment for me.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you like best about working or volunteering at Oseredok?
When you grow up in the Ukrainian community in Winnipeg, Winnipeg is a large town. So you think you know everyone in the Ukrainian community, but really, when it comes down to it, there are circles within the Ukrainian community that you wind up hanging out more with than others. Um, so coming and volunteering here at Oseredok, you get to know actually a broader spectrum of the Ukrainian community here in Winnipeg than you otherwise may not have had contact with. And that to me is what has actually been quite a pleasant surprise of volunteering here at Oseredok. Getting to know and meeting and working with new people.
For sure, and I think that's a similar thing for me too. Like just over the last year or so that I've been with Oseredok, it's been interesting because as a multifaceted organization that has these different aspects, like a boutique, collections, you see these different aspects, and then why different people come to Oseredok for whatever it is they're interested in.
And you get to know more about them and their areas
Yeah,
of expertise.
exactly.
Some of the individuals in the collections who are involved, intimately involved in assessing and helping organize the Oseredok collections, their knowledge of the minutia of Ukrainian cultural things is just beyond my imagination. I could never
Yeah,
even think about knowing all these things, and these are just literally experts at your door that you've never met before.
yeah,
And so that to me uh, is interesting. It's also interesting dealing with everybody's individual idiosyncrasies, and just basically everyone working together towards a common goal and getting everybody together from different aspects of life. So to me, that is the most pleasing thing about working in volunteering in Australia.
yeah. So why do you continue to commit your time and energy to Oseredok?
Well, once you're in, it's what does it say? Just what was the movie The Godfather? Just when you thought you were out, they take you back in. It's very once you're in, it's hard to leave, and it's a part of you, right? It's you want it desperately to succeed. You want it to look good not only on the local but also on the national and international stage, and so that drive doesn't go away. So I continue to want to see Oseredok grow and develop rightfully into the bastion of um, or the repository of Ukrainian culture that it truly is now in Canada, and that I would like it to be recognized as such by other Ukrainians across the country.
Yeah, for sure. So what unique skills and traits do you bring to this organization?
It's funny you should actually mention that. We recently on the board had um, a form to fill out in terms of what skills you bring to Oseredok, and those range from if someone is an accountant, then obviously that person would be a numbers person, or if somebody's a lawyer, legal advice. Well, actually, my profession doesn't bring much to the equation. I'm an anesthesiologist. There's not too many people on the board who need to have an anesthetic around a board meeting. Um, but my qualities are such that, and if you talk to anyone, I'm a pretty straight shooter, and I'm generally good with dealing with people, and in an honest, oftentimes straightforward and blunt manner. And I think I bring that to the board. If I do not like uh, red tape, I do not like um, things that cause a process to stall. That's where other people on the board who are much better at dotting the I's and crossing the T's bring that to the table. I'm can sometimes be a bull in a china shop trying to drive things forward, but you need a combination of different styles to make an organization work. And I think I bring that part to the equation.
So what is the power of Ukrainians?
Well, it's being shown right now. I mean, uh, Ukrainians are an interesting people. We are multifaceted in regards to of our abilities in the sciences and technology and cultural fields, artistic fields. We have a very strong, stubborn streak that essentially kicks in only after a while. Nationally, and Ukraine has been kicked around for many, many, many years, and now, but once we hit a certain point, then we stand up and we can't be broken. That is, as you can see, presently because of a war started by a tiny little man in Moscow who believes that Ukrainians don't exist. Well, as a nation in Ukraine and internationally in the diaspora, well, we all collectively stood up and said, "Well, wait a minute, we do," and have resisted the onslaught of army that thought that it would take the country in 3 days. Well, 6 months later, guess what? Um, you haven't. And so that in and of itself is actually what shows what Ukrainians are all about. We're a very giving people. We're a very artistic people. And as my father, who is an engineer, always wants to point out that there's more to Ukrainians than just that. It's also our achievements in science and technology are beyond compare. So there's a lots to talk about being Ukrainian.
Yeah.
More than just pierogies and borscht. That's basically what I'd like to say.
Yeah. So, what have you learned during your time here?
Um, what I've learned here is what I've learned as I've gotten older. When you're younger, you think you know everything, and as you get older, I guess it's the wisdom of age, as they say, that you realize you really don't know very much. Um, but it's what you do know and what you add to what other people know that actually makes things happen. And working here at Oseredok, I realized while I do know a fair amount about Ukrainian culture and history, that there are that I really know only the tiniest millimeter of the tip of the iceberg in comparison to other people. Um, so it's been a learning experience from that point of view, just learning from the wealth of knowledge of other people that work here and volunteer here at Oseredok. It's been a pleasure.